Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo and we're here at the South Park Center and I'm here with Jenna and Francesca with their movie Willow Creek Road. Let's take a look at a clip.
I've been thinking about the scope of the land. How each little piece seems to fit together, like it's all woven up.
Thank you so much for coming all the way from New York City to be with us and thank you for your amazing film.
Thank you.
It was so wonderful. But for those that haven't seen it, tell us a brief synopsis of your film.
Our film takes place in Montana, and it's about a woman who is a ranch hand and is kind of steeped in a very lonely life, and she discovers two children by the side of a dirt road and picks them up and assumes the role of their mother for a day and gets caught up in an adventure until the real mom comes home and her bubble of pretend, well actually I think it's reality for her of being a mom in this moment is popped.
Yeah, it was honestly such a really engaging story. You know those films where you can't take your eyes off because there's so many emotions flying through and you can feel them. It was wonderful. But where did the inspiration come for you in writing this particular film?
I think it was twofold. At first it was a seed that came from my babysitting in New York City and being an imposter in other people's homes and being from kind of a broken home and experiencing divorce and the family unit kind of crumbling. And then it came from Francesca and bringing her on board to realize the vision and kind of get Montana into her senses and understand its sense of poetry and carving out the behavioral moments of these rural people, which she seemed to understand as this New York City gal. So.
And I love that you're in New York City and then you make this film in a completely different environment, part of the United States. And I love it. I love that you made this film in Montana because there was just so much untouched beauty, but also appreciating different people's lives in different places and different perspectives and everything as well.
Yeah.
Obviously you have a dream team here. How did you get involved and when do you know, like, I want to do this, I want to be involved in this?
Well, I was lucky because the cinematographer was already on board and I'd worked with him before and they had a director attached, but then she was unable to do it. So they were looking for another woman to direct it. And he recommended me and I met with Jenna and we just got along. And the guy who shot at Sheldon, he's just phenomenal and we work really well together. So it just made sense, I guess.
Yeah.
You both did a great job, obviously worked well together. Yeah, please continue.
Yeah, we did work really well together. I feel like we have, I don't know how I would articulate it, but I think we're both, there's a loner in us, but there's also like a need to connect and be like
we're
a woman.
empaths.
Yeah, we're empaths, and I think we're women of the people, like to connect with a large audience is important to us, but I think we connect through our solitary experiences. Would you say that's?
Yeah, I mean, I also feel like nature is important to the both of us.
Yeah.
And I may have grown up in New York City, but I spent a lot of time in upstate New York. And for me, there was so much of the film that was about the setting and how she is in the setting and just sort of the wonder of nature, but the kind of also like lonely heartbreak feeling you can get being in it. So yeah, it was really wonderful shooting in Montana. I feel like
oh my goodness,
the landscape really spoke to us, and we wanted to make that. We were always talking about making that its own character, and I hope we achieved that.
You certainly did. Like it was beautiful to watch, and just made me feel I want more films in Montana being made, which is great. There's a bit more of a connection though with your location and how that came about. Tell us a bit more about that, Jenna.
So we filmed in the Paradise Valley, which is about 45 minutes north of Yellowstone National Park, which we took the full crew to when we wrapped, which was wonderful.
Wow.
So we were just kind of steeped in this specific area of Montana, which I think is one of the most beautiful places in the world. So Francesca would say Montana just gives it to you. You literally just kind of point and shoot. And we were lucky because a lot of the weather, how it rolled in, would mirror emotionally where the protagonist Ruth was at. We just got these kind of great, like, storms that blew in at the climax of the film, and then these like layered clouds that you see in the beginning that just created this perfect triangle that expanded in the end. And I don't know, we were blessed by some like karmic
Yeah,
film gods when we went to
It was
Montana.
beautiful to watch. I mean, even
Thank
the
you.
content was hard to watch, seeing what they were going through, but it was beautiful to watch. Now, you also, I mean, obviously got to direct your lovely colleague right here, but also you directed young children as well. How was that experience for you? And they were fantastic.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's always tricky working with kids, honestly, and you sort of have to figure out how to speak to each of them. I guess it's the same with actors, any actors. But we had a pretty good run of it, I think. Like, the little guy was a real sweetheart, and I mean, I would say the gal maybe got a little, had a little bit of difficulty. But they both sort of did. I guess you should just be like nurturing, and I was thinking about it when I was watching it yesterday again, how we got really close actually, and that was really kind of charming and wonderful, and they sort of I loved them and they loved me, so I feel like we, am I right about that? Like we grew
You are right about that.
a relationship, and you know, so with kids sometimes you have to tell them honestly just exactly what to do. It's different with adults, obviously you're trying to get them to come to a true emotional place, and with kids you have to be like, no, do it, just say it like this, you know, do it again. But it worked out, and they were both, I guess the word is game for it. So they did give it their all.
Yeah.
And they fueled each other. I think they were very much, the casting was spot on, because he was very jovial and he just wanted her to like him, and she was very precocious and would kind of tell him what to do. So they had this kind of sibling tension on set, which I think translate
No, it really did.
well.
They were, I honestly was going to say I thought they were siblings, so you know, it was
Casting,
really,
I think, was done well.
was wonderful. What was the biggest challenge you had in making this project? Was there
I wonder
any?
what you would say.
Yeah, what would I say? I mean, I think I know what you would say. And yours is pretty interesting. So maybe, do you want to dive into that?
Well, it's just very technical, but we were unable to go scout beforehand. So we had, and also casting, we did that like over Skype.
Yeah.
And scouting we did just through photos. And so your brother did an awesome job, but also wanted to show us the best of each location. So when we got to the location, actually the house that they were in, it was, I mean, in all honesty, it was like a former meth house.
Oh.
And so I don't know if we had this like, and I didn't know, because the production designer was so professional, he just kept saying like, it's challenging, but we're doing it. It's challenging, but we're doing it. And then we found out that we had to actually shut production down because we were trying to figure out if it was even safe for us to be in the house.
We just sent 2 crew members to the
Emergency
legit
room.
hospital.
Wow.
Was it the emergency room in Bozeman, Montana?
Yeah, that was I have never had an experience like that, but I would just say, like, as a director, ultimately, it's sort of like you are the one in charge of everything, and you know, filmmaking, it can be treacherous depending on where you are, and so that was like
People looking to you to sort of like, okay, how do we deal with this situation?
Do we push through or do we stop? And oh my God, I've never had an experience like that.
Wow.
But it somehow worked. Like the set like the house felt away too.
Yeah.
And ultimately, everybody was safe and it was fine. And he did an awesome job because it was like empty and filthy before we got in there, but it sort of like had its own weird energy. I felt like that house.
Yeah.
But
It made it complex to have this kind of meth house, and then to have to layer in the nuance of love that these kids are still experiencing from a neglectful mom, but because she's probably working 5 jobs as a single mom. So we had that kind of creepiness that Francesca's talking about, and then the production design came in and added the complexity of the actual household and relationships.
That's nicely put.
I think it really creates a great character of that house. But you see, "Leave My House" in the real kids writing, who were living there, and that's a lot to take in, like the reality of their situation.
Yeah,
to
no, most
write
definitely.
something like that on the wall.
Well, I'm glad you got through that okay and safe. Yes, I really am. It must be wonderful to watch this film, because it is a great film to watch and needs to be on a big screen. What was it like to have your film at NewFilmmakers LA and the experience of the audience? What was that experience like for you?
I was able to invite a lot of people in LA who I care about, who I haven't seen for a while, to come see my work, and so it was very community oriented. And so I was able to, I had my friend John, I haven't seen him in 22 years. I last saw him in high school as a freshman.
I love
He
it.
came through up to my college buddies, up to people that I've been collaborating with in New York. And so I feel like there's a real, and I mean this honestly, there's like a real love of cinema here, and there's a magic here, and there are resources here because this is the business here. So to kind of be in that climate, it feels like coming home a little bit to me.
Yeah.
And to share it with all these people from my life, and to have them meet Francesca, and to see her work as well was really meaningful.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
I feel like the spirit that this whole thing is put on with is so amazing and really like nurturing, and I'm all about greater missions, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like there's one here,
Yeah.
and that's exciting to be a part of. And honestly, it's nice to see it big because we worked so hard on making those images, and the landscape of Montana is so large that it does always feel like if you watch it on a computer, like it's not really doing what it's supposed to do emotionally.
Deserves the justice on the big screen, doesn't it? It really does.
So that was wonderful.
No, well, we're glad that you both came out as well. What's next for you both?
Well, I'm working on a feature that takes place in New York City. And I'm working on a series that I'm co-doing with somebody called Heather. And that goes like, is about a woman and goes in and out of her imagination. And then I'm working on a documentary that has a little bit to do with the use of psychotropic drugs with therapy.
Wow.
And then we have a feature that we're trying to get off the ground that would be like, take place in Montana, different characters, but sort of same vibe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, exactly. I think we found our aesthetic with this film and the calling card, and people keep saying that they want to see this as a feature. I keep hearing that over and over again. And I think we want to keep the aesthetic, the kind of very like Terrence Malick-y shots, but through the female gaze, through her gaze. But then we want to, without giving too much away, we want to get into a different story and to more of go for it.
Oh, like a Western kind of story. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, I can't wait for all these things. It's so exciting. You both are so busy. It's funny. I actually was thinking of Terrence Malick style film. I was thinking of Tree of Life in my mind when I was watching the
people
film.
mention
so
you know,
flattering,
which is one of my favorites. So, and no, you both did a fantastic job, and I just think it's so wonderful to also see films being made in, you know, that's not Los Angeles, but in other places, other great places, a part of this country as well. Which is a great credit as well.
Yeah, I feel like my 20s were, I don't know how you would feel, but my 20s were about craft into my early 30s, and now that I'm in my mid 30s, it's about identity.
Yeah.
And to come to a place like LA can feel overwhelming, but I'm beginning to form more of an identity as a Montanan filmmaker. And to have that identity and to have that place that tells a certain story, and then to bring it back to a place like LA feels like the right career trajectory for me right now where I am.
What one piece of advice would you share that is important to you in your filmmaking career for each of you?
I would say, I guess, perseverance. Like, it's very hard, and everybody that I've met who's really well established, I always appreciate that they say how hard it is, because it is incredibly hard work. And that can be a beautiful thing, so it shouldn't be a negative, but you really have to stick with it because there's a lot of, I don't know, rejection, I guess, or false starts, or you think something's happening right and it doesn't, or even the house goes crazy, you know. So you just have to like be kind of laser focused and not let any of that stuff stop you from moving forward.
Perseverance is everything. I believe that.
Yeah. We have that strong value system in common. I think that's why we found each other. And I guess to expand on that, I think you do have to run your own race and not be seduced by the big names. You have to be willing to see your artistic stuff as worthy of visibility, and to keep, I think you have to be the first person there for you in terms of all the rejection that you feel. Like you do have to always put your best foot forward in terms of that kind of belief in oneself, and then find your allies along the way.
Well, thank you for Willow Creek Road. Thank you so much. We can't wait to see much more of your projects, and thank you for being with us. So, Francesca and Jenna, everybody, thank you very much.
Thank you for being such a
wonderful
interviewer.